5 deadly study mistakes and how by avoiding these you can actually see results from the hours you put in your preparation. Hi, I'm Jackson. I've scored 760 on the GMAT and I'm the creator of best-selling GMAT preparation courses on Udemy. Do check them out in the link below if you're interested. Now, in this video, I'll be discussing 5 deadly study mistakes that students often do, and we will take a few sample questions to understand what I actually mean when I say that these are study mistakes. And if you imbibe this in your preparation, that is, if you imbibe not doing these mistakes in your preparation, let me guarantee you that it will take your preparation to the next level. Mistake number 1, not doing deliberate practice when you are actually spending hours preparing. Now, what do I mean with that? Let's say you've taken a question and you've tried to solve it. So you went ahead, you read the question stem and you marked an option. And then it's possible that you either got it right or you got it wrong. That's fine. But there is a high chance a lot of students just solve questions one after the other without actually deliberately attacking the problem. Now, let's take an example of sports and try to take a parallel from there to understand what I mean, and then we'll take a look at a sample question. Now, let's say there is a tennis player and this player just plays tennis. Alright, that's good. So the player spent 2 hours playing tennis. But is there a guarantee that after the 2 hours spent playing tennis, the skill of that tennis player actually improved? No, there's no guarantee as long as the tennis player did not do deliberate practice. Now, what do I mean with that? So the 2 hours that the tennis player was playing tennis, he or she should actually be consciously improving something, like maybe the way that they are striking the ball or the way that they are observing the ball or something. If they are not consciously trying to improve for the 2 hours, but they were just playing for fun, there is no guarantee that it improved their skill level after the 2 hour period. Now, this is very much similar to preparing for the GMAT. Let me take a sample question over here. On the screen, you can see a sample question. Now, this is a question which is part of the starter kit that the GMAT provides. So it's a free question which you can access on mba.com. So over here again, we are not trying to solve the question, but we're just trying to avoid deadly mistakes. Now, let's say there is this question stem over here and a student just reads the question stem and goes to the answer options, and let's say they either mark D, which is the right answer, or they mark another option which is not the right answer. But let's say there are no repeatable skills that the student was practicing when they were solving the question. In that case, it does not improve the skill of the student, even though the student has spent time preparing for the GMAT. Now, what do I mean with repeatable skills? So over here, you can see that I've marked the conclusion, right? So before you, for example, this is a critical reasoning question. So before you go to the options, it's important, for example, that you spend time with the question stem and you understand the conclusion, you understand what the structure of the question stem is, what is the author's reasoning, how did the author arrive at the conclusion, and so on and so forth. And over here you can see that the question has been underlined. So what's reading the question carefully is also another critical skill. So there are various such skills. We're not diving into those over here in this video, but I'm just giving you an example to help you understand and evaluate whether you're actually putting in practice, deliberate practice, or whether you're just solving questions when you're preparing for the GMAT. So ensure that you avoid this mistake. Don't just blindly solve questions of the question. When you actually prepare for the GMAT, ensure you're putting in deliberate practice. That is, you're putting in those hours to actually get results, to actually improve something. And you do that by putting in practice what you actually should be practicing, and that should actually help you get results. For example, you should if you're and it can vary from question type to question type. So I've just taken an example over here. So if you're solving a critical reasoning question, do ensure that you spend time with the question stem, you understand the core of the passage, what is the author's reasoning, how is the author arriving at the core, and so on and so forth. So ensure that Out of every question that you practice, you improve your skill in a deliberate manner. You're actually practicing something which results in improving your skill, which is something that you can repeat when you're solving questions on the GMAT, and in such a manner, from day to day, from hour to hour that you practice, your skill will improve and you will actually see results. Mistake number 2: reading the solution of a question before you actually try to attempt it on your own. Now, this is a very common problem. Let's say you are solving an official question from the official guide. You read the question and you see that it's a bit difficult. So what do? You directly go, you turn the pages, you go to the answer part, you read the answer, and then you understand how to solve such a question. Now, this is a very deadly mistake because you just spent time. Right? Time is the most critical resource anybody has. So you just spend time, but nothing improved in you because you did not spend time actually solving the question. You did not spend time facing that difficulty. And only if you spend time where you face that difficulty, you're not able to solve it, or you're getting confused, or you're not understanding something. Only when you face that difficulty, and you'll only face that if you actually try to solve the question on your own, only if that happens will actual learning happen when you spend time preparing for the GMAT. So let's take a sample question over here and try to understand what I mean. You have a sample question on the screen. Now let's say this is a difficult question. You read it and you are not able to understand how to approach this question. Now you can take a look at some of my other videos where I've discussed this same question in detail. Now let's say you're trying to solve it on your own. You're not getting you're not able to understand what's going on over here, and you immediately move on to the solution. Now if that is you just wasted time because you did not face the difficulty, which is actually the key for actual learning. Only when you solve this question on your own, and even if you make a mistake but you're trying deliberately to solve it, even if you make a mistake, you try to think about what you did not understand which led to the mistake. So only when you do that, when you face that difficulty, then whatever time you spend preparing is actually resulting in improvement of skill. And when you do that consistently over a period of time, you will see that your skill improves, and because of that, your score will improve. Deadly mistake number 3. There are a lot of patterns that you can see when you observe official GMAT questions. Now, in various questions, there are common traps that you can notice. Now, not recognizing those traps can be a deadly mistake, because if you don't know that, 1, you're likely to fall into the trap and make a mistake, and 2, because if you rather knew those traps, when you see such a question on the GMAT, the trap part will actually jump at you and you will notice it immediately, and that will help you save time as well and accurately solve it. Now, what do I mean with that? Let's take a sample question to understand that. So on the screen, you have a question which is a typical GMAT trap. Now over here, this is a data sufficiency question. You have 2 statements, and let's say a student thinks that, alright, so there are 2 variables, I need to find the value of A, and in statement 1 there are 2 variables and I can't solve it because I need 2 equations if I want to solve an equation with 2 variables. So over here I have one more statement, again I have one more equation with the 2 variables. So let's say the student immediately thinks, alright, so the answer has to be option C, I will be able to find the value of A if I use both the equations. So that's a common trap, because over here we don't have a scenario of having 2 equations with 2 variables, because you can see statement 1 and 2 are actually the same, one and the same, because if you divide statement 2 by 3, you will get A plus 2B is equal to 9, which is what you have in statement 1 as well. So this is a typical trap. You actually cannot solve this question, and the correct answer is option E. Now in a similar manner, there are other common traps. For example, there is a common trap which is the reverse of this. You may have 2 variables and you may have 2 equations. Again, you may think that, alright, I will need both the equations to solve this, and a student who does not know common traps may mark option C. But there are special cases where you can actually solve an equation with two variables with only one equation when there are some extra information or extra conditions mentioned in the question stem, which actually can eliminate some other possibilities, resulting in only few answers. Now you can take some examples in my Udemy courses where I discuss these traps in detail, but the point that I'm trying to make over here is you should be aware of all the possible types which are common traps on the GMAT, because if that is the case, you're not going to solve a question on the GMAT or on the day with no prior background knowledge, right? And there are other students out there who know it, so that puts you at a disadvantage. But if you know the traps, then if the question that you're facing is a common trap, the trap will jump out at you, you will immediately notice it and you will tackle it, you will mark the correct answer in using very less time. So that's an advantage for you. So don't do this mistake. Be aware of the common traps on the GMAT. Deadly mistake number 4. Repeatedly doing the same mistake again and again. Now, in this context, I'm reminded of a famous quote by Albert Einstein. He said that it is the definition of insanity to do the same thing again and again and expect different results. Now, how is this related to your GMAT preparation? Let's say you're a person who's making mistakes on the same type or same topic, questions from the same type of question or the same topic. You're again and again making mistakes. Now, that is a hint to you that your fundamentals regarding that particular topic is not strong. So take out some time and clear your fundamentals on that topic rather than making the same mistake again and again. Now let's take an example to understand this in better detail. So on your screen you have a sample question. Let's say this is a question with work, right? So let's say you're a person who typically makes mistakes on questions related to work. Now, you are also a person who has not taken out time to analyze why always you're making mistakes in these type of questions. And what do? When you make a mistake, you just notice that you have made a mistake, you read the solution and you think, all right, so this is how you do this type of questions, and you move forward. But again, the next time you encounter a work related question, you again make mistakes. Now that is a hint to you that there is something wrong in your fundamentals regarding work type of questions. So take out some time and try to analyze what is it that you actually don't know about these type of questions. Is it that you don't know how to convert the amount of work that would be completed in 1 hour? For example, over here it says that Alice can complete the work alone in 12 hours. So in 1 hour, Alice can do 1/12 of the work. Is this something that's going wrong always? Or is it that you don't know to combine how two people do work together? Like over here, Alice can do 1/12 of the work in 1 hour. Bob can do 1/b of the work in 1 hour. So both of them working together in 1 hour can do 1/12 plus 1/b amount of work. Is this where you're going wrong? Or I'm just taking these as examples, alright? So if you're making the same mistake again and again, pause, alright? So don't just rush with your preparation. Take a step back, pause, and try to analyze why this is happening. What is it that you don't understand in these type of questions? Now this is not only applicable to quantitative reasoning, it can be in critical reasoning, or it can be in data insights or reading comprehension, or any part of the GMAT, right? So take a step back and spend some time. Remember, it's not a wastage of time. It is a good investment to take a step back, spend some time and clear your fundamentals, and ensure that next time you are encountered with a question from that particular topic, ensure that you get it right. So do ensure that you take these type of hints into consideration. Fix your fundamentals as you proceed with your preparation. Deadly mistake number 5. Practicing with wrong habits. Now there is a saying that says practice makes perfect, but that's something that I don't agree with. It's actually the right kind of practice that makes perfect. Now, If a student is practicing GMAT questions and you're practicing wrong habits, then it's the same thing that you will end up doing on the GMAT day, which will actually cost you dearly. Now, what do I mean with that? Let's take an example. So on the screen, you have a question over here. Let's say this is a question stem and you have the 5 answer options. Now, something that I advocate repeatedly is that don't just select the right answer, rather eliminate 4 wrong answers. This is very important, especially for reading comprehension and critical reasoning. So let's say this is a critical reasoning question. So you have the question stem over here, and as you practice, like it's a working day, you're back after your work and you're spending 1 hour practicing critical reasoning. Now you're doing this question, you're reading the question stem, you are going through the options, you notice that A is wrong, B is wrong, and then when you read option C, you see that it looks good, it's aligning with your thought process, and in your practice session you mark it as right, and then you go ahead and take a look at the answer. This is a wrong habit. Why is it wrong? Because if it's in this manner that you practice, then this is the same thing that you will repeat on the GMAT, right? Now there could be something that you missed, and maybe the correct answer is option D. Now if you had read option D, then probably you would have noticed that you're not able to eliminate D, and then you would have taken a second look at option C, and maybe there is something that you missed and you were able to eliminate C and mark D as the correct answer. So remember, it's very important that you practice the right habits. It's not that you're not saving time by marking C and looking at the answer options when you're practicing at home and thinking that on the GMAT day you would religiously or you will deliberately with discipline look at all the 5 options. That's not going to happen, right? Whatever you practice, that's what is going to repeat on the GMAT day. So when you practice, remember to practice in the right manner. Over here for this example, ensure that before you mark C, you go through D and E as well, and you mark the right answer only after eliminating 4 wrong answers. So remember, avoid the mistake of practicing with wrong habits, because once a habit is formed, it's going to unconsciously repeat itself on the GMAT day. So we have discussed 5 deadly mistakes. Ensure that you avoid them. How do you avoid them? Number 1, ensure whenever you practice, you do deliberate practice. Number 2, whenever you are faced with a question, solve it on your own before you take a look at the solution. Number 3, be aware of all the common traps that you can expect on the GMAT. If you know them, if the question actually is a trap, the trap will jump out at you and you will be able to solve that question correctly in an efficient manner. Number 4, if you're making repeatedly the same mistake, take a step back and improve your fundamentals in that particular area. And finally, number 5, ensure that whenever you practice, you don't practice with wrong habits, rather you practice with the right habits. All the best in your GMAT preparation. Take a look at the links below to see the link to my advanced quantitative problem solving series on YouTube, as well as my series on data sufficiency. Also take a look at my Udemy courses. You can find the links below. I've put in hours and hours into those. They'll definitely help you in your structured preparation, which is very important to build strong fundamentals. All the best in your GMAT preparation.